Well, sir, let me zoom in on the topic of vaccines. Of course, we do remember that some 2.6 to 3 million vaccines or doses were bought by the private sector. But let me also bring in Mr. Ray and Mr. Leo. Tell us more about that initiative. And there were also earlier reports of possible second tranche or second batch of vaccines to be purchased by the private sector. I don't know lang if that is pushing through or if that has made any headway. But where are we with that initiative, po?
Is that for me or for Lito?
Actually, sir, for any of the three of you. But I'd also like to ask the other two to join in as well later on. But okay, sir, can we start with you, sir, Mr. Pangilinan?
What we're hearing is that there could be a next batch of vaccines from Moderna.
Yes, sir.
Initially, we heard it's up to 10 million, but we're hearing that that might be reduced. To what extent, we don't know yet. So we are participating in that potential order for vaccines, a fairly hefty amount for our group and for our hospitals, not only for the staff of our hospitals but also for the patients. No, in our case, our employees, their dependents, and their kasambahay. No, kasama doon sa order namin.
Oh, pati kasambahay. Okay. Sir, pero po, is it the same arrangement na 50% goes to government and 50% goes to the private sector, or will it be different formula?
Hindi pa malinaw eh. So, basta at some point they have to, parang ngayon, private sector lang yun, no? So, we don't know eventually whether we will be required to give up X% of what we order. So, again, until the situation clarifies, we don't know. But, in principle, we're prepared to help out to what the government may need on their side. No,
No, that's encouraging. Another 10 million. Mr. Ray and Mr. Leo, would you like to add something?
Start tayo.
So again, as I mentioned, that this is happening, I think, on different fronts. So one is in terms of getting the vaccines in. And again, our member companies are really operating at different levels. For those that have hospitals, for those that are in the pharmaceutical industry, or for those that are looking after their employees and the dependents. But the other piece of work that PBSP is getting into is really coordinating closely with the Department of Health, being the lead agency in trying to roll out this vaccination program, because as we know that there are peripherals that go hand in hand with those vaccines. You need human resources and health workers to administer those vaccines, and this whole discussion about
refrigeration as well.
Refrigeration, distribution, and logistics. So I think the different companies that have their own specific competencies lend these competencies to the whole process. But at the same time, I think there is a large component which is going to be helping local governments.
Yeah.
Because to see really how local governments, everything from registration to informing and encouraging the public to go through this vaccination process, and making sure that we are able to manage at the same time those that will continue to be infected and treating those who are infected while we are running the vaccination program.
Yeah, let me seize upon that for a question to Mr. Tayag, particularly to tap your thoughts also, given your expertise in IT and BPM. Nabanggit ni Ray yung registration in particular. We're actually seeing that now in many countries that have started rolling out, even in advanced countries like the United States. And we've also heard it from LGUs here. They're concerned about how do we keep track, and can we start pre-enrolling and pre-registering people ahead of time? What can the private sector bring? And for that matter, are LGUs in fact already in touch with you on these matters?
Well, as an industry, as you have mentioned, I think we can play a role in helping out, especially on the technology sector. But we're still in the process now of the journey on our end-to-end process for the vaccination. At this point, I don't have much information on that one, but from a technology perspective and as an industry, we certainly are willing to work with the government and the LGUs for whatever contribution we could make in terms of the end-to-end process for the vaccination.
I think we're starting to slowly realize that the deployment of this vaccine is quite a complicated process, no? Because you're talking about inoculating, tens of millions of people, no? So, unang-una I think what we're hearing is that certain of the COVID, these vaccine suppliers are insisting on a certain protocol, their protocol, in the logistics and the application of the vaccines. No? No, on our side, at the end, we need to know which of the citizens are going to be and have been vaccinated with the first dosage and second dosage. And once you have been given inoculated, you need a record, a passport, what they call a vaccine passport, so that people are able to travel, right, from let's say from Manila to Batangas or wherever, or to Cebu, and show your passport that have been inoculated. And most importantly, when you travel abroad, that passport has got to be recognized by your host country, which means that it probably must be a document issued by the government for it to be recognized abroad. These are the issues that need to be fleshed out, diba? So, yan ang Now, that's where the IT element comes in.
Yes.
I understand Microsoft is very active in the design and the execution of this IT platform, no? So we are, in many respects, we have to wait for what the suppliers are going to tell us. We are going to supply you the vaccine, but this is the kind of protocol we require. So we need to understand that as well, no?
But is this the kind of, are these the considerations that are in fact already being taken up between the private sector and government, especially the national government, given that you've pointed out some of the elements here will actually need the seal of the government?
Well, I understand, I think what Ray alluded to, is certain of our members are part of that conversation, no? I am not directly involved. I think certain of our hospital personnel are part of that as well, conversation. No?
Okay.
So this is what we're picking up on. But yes, that will have to be, I think that will have to be a PPP, in quotes, between the private sector and the government, particularly if the private sector were to be allowed to import the vaccines directly.